So I wanted to talk about this article on the Washington Post website called Women Who Hate on Feminists Hurt All Women by Michelle Smith. First off, shouldn't it be Women Who Hate on Feminists Hurt All People? I keep being told that feminism is about everybody, not just the women. But that could just be an editorial change. The article's been reblogged from the Conversation website, and the title there was actually Women, You Do Need Feminism, so it could have just been changed to make it a bit more punchy and get more clicks. I wanted to talk about the actual article itself. I don't totally disagree with the whole thing. I just wanted to talk about some of the things said and why I think Michelle Smith might be missing the point, or even deliberately ignoring some of the points. The first few paragraphs are about the Australian university campuses marking Blue Stocking Weekend, a celebration that remembers the first women who entered English universities in the late 19th century. And it goes on about the history of the trailblazers who couldn't take exams or expect to graduate with natural degree until 1948, which is surprisingly quite recent in the history of women's education, and that is interesting. But what I do have a problem with is that anyone who attacks modern feminism is constantly reminded of the past. I won't read the whole article word for word, but I'll try not to paraphrase it too much. So the first point, number one, men and women already have equal rights where I live. And she says, it is indeed true that many Western nations' women enjoy formal equality, but substantive equality remains elusive. Any of these rights also have the potential to be revoked at any time. Now, I don't think any of these rights do have the potential to be revoked at any time. I'm pretty sure they won't just say, right, women, you can't vote anymore. She goes, abortion rights in particular are continually challenged and overturned, which is true, but also women have the power to vote and lobby for these rights. Just the fact that they're being challenged, that's, in my opinion, that's democracy. I don't think it's right that they should take away women's rights to abortions, but I think people should have the right to debate that issue. Cannot simply say that feminism has done its work and all women will enjoy the rights and freedoms it has helped to achieve indefinitely. Also, people regularly travel and migrate. Things might be better where you live, but what if you want to go somewhere where women aren't allowed to drive, gain an education, or report a rape? Now, I'm not seeing much in modern day feminism that relates to women in countries where they're not allowed to drive or gain an education. There probably is, but I think when people are attacking feminism today, they're talking about the more excessive first world problem feminists. I don't really understand the argument that, you can't be against modern feminism because what if you want to move to Afghanistan? Well, why would you want to move there? Number two, I was raised to be an independent woman, not a victim of anything. Prior to feminism, it would have been impossible for most women to be independent, regardless of their parents' intentions. At various points in history, women couldn't inherit property, work outside the home, learn to read, or even walk down the street unaccompanied. The efforts of generations of feminists have helped to give women a say in government, the right to be educated, and social and sexual freedoms. No one's disputing that. I think the thing that you're ignoring when you're attacking the women against feminism posts is that a lot of them don't just say, I don't need feminism, because they say, I don't need modern feminism, or I don't need third wave feminism. And just to say, well, feminism's done a lot of good in the past. I hear that constantly used as an excuse for why we can't criticise modern feminism, which it doesn't make any sense. Just because they fought for our rights in the past, just because they've achieved so much, it doesn't mean that we can't look at modern feminism and say, well, this is wrong. I don't want this. You can't use the history of feminism as an excuse for modern feminism. I think today feminism has kind of turned into whoever can shout the loudest gets heard. So we get a lot of these inflammatory Tumblr posts and Twitter posts from just seemingly like the most stupid of feminists. and increasingly they're becoming the voice that's heard and the voice that represents feminism. I constantly hear that these aren't the real feminists, and there's feminists actually doing good in the world and not just crying about computer games and things like that. But I don't hear those voices. If that is true feminism, then it's not doing its job, because it's the Tumblr feminazis that we hear about, and they're the ones that are increasingly being regarded as the voice of feminism. And I think it's fine for people to say that they don't need feminism because of posts like that. You can't just keep saying, well, look at the history of feminism. You're not against that, are you? Well, no, people aren't against that. And people aren't denying the history of feminism just because they reject it today. It says, an independent woman would want to pursue any path in life that she wishes. She's the kind of woman who would speak up when informed that her job has been made redundant because she's pregnant. And so she should. I don't actually know any women that have been made redundant because they've been made pregnant. In my experience, they all get maternity leave and then they come back to the job whenever they want. If this happens, then it is an injustice. It doesn't mean that there's a societal injustice against women in the workplace. Just because some bosses out there are arseholes doesn't mean they all are. She's the kind of woman who will speak up when informed that her job has been made redundant because she's pregnant, or who would get angry when she's told that she can't walk home alone because otherwise she'd be inviting sexual assault. Well, yes, of course. Who's telling people that they can't walk home because they're inviting sexual assault? Maybe they feel that way, but I work a job where I finish quite late at night, and I don't really feel that safe walking home alone at night, but I do. This isn't a gender issue, really. It's an issue of how safe the streets are to walk alone at night in general for everyone. And why this is a feminist issue, I don't understand. It's more an issue for the police, and it's more an issue of violence in society. That's another discussion. Independence and refusal to be a victim are feminist qualities. And yeah, I agree with that, but increasingly on these Tumblr posts and Twitter posts, it is telling women that they're victims or potential victims. It is painting men to be the attackers, and that's not equality, that's not independence. That's not refusing to be a victim, that's making you feel like a victim. Number 3 is I am an abomination to feminists because I am a stay-at-home mother. Many women against feminism believe that feminism opposes women's work at home and denigrates those who don't pursue careers. Yeah, I agree with this. If it's true, if women against feminism do think that feminists don't like them because they want to be stay-at-home mums. I didn't know this, to be honest. Number 4, men have rights too. Oh no, what a crazy concept. Okay, in the first paragraph. As the vast majority of the world's government and business leaders and holders of its wealth, it's bizarre to suggest that men now lack social and political power. Men, you don't have, you can't argue about your lack of social power because Obama, because David Cameron. How does this argument make sense? Just because there's a man in power doesn't mean suddenly I can't talk about injustices against my own gender in society. The men in power don't represent me. And it goes on to say, women against feminism, however, often propose that men's rights have been eroded because they usually have less access to their children after separation or divorce. The continuing perception in courts and general community that women are better suited to raise children while men are better equipped to be in the workforce is not a right that women enjoy. In dozens of ways, this belief restricts and hampers women's rights and capacity to earn. The one drawback that affects men is the only one that anti-feminists mention. Now, it's not the one drawback. I think that there's quite a lot of drawbacks that affect men that anti-feminists talk about. I think you're just choosing the one that you find easiest to dispute and attacking that. And the fact that you say that it's the one drawback that anti-feminists mention. Kind of proves that you haven't really looked into it that well, or you're just willfully ignoring a lot of other points that are raised. Number 5, I, with emphasis on I. I don't need feminism because, and it says, it is impossible to extricate yourself from collective rights relating to gender, race, or sexuality. Unless you wish to withdraw from society, you will both benefit and suffer from political and social changes to what women can and cannot do. You may not want to need feminism, but you will benefit from its continued work. Now, I'm sure any group could argue this, any political group. The BNP, the racist groups could say, well, you can't say you don't need us because you have a race. Because race issues do affect you, so our work will affect you. You can't reject us because our work affects you, because you have a gender, isn't really a fair argument, I don't think. And it says, this is the final line, it is very easy for women against feminism to declare that they don't need feminism, using the voice and powers that feminism made possible and which continues to fight for. Why this focus on the past? This is what I don't understand. We can keep saying feminism, it gave women the right to vote, it gave women equal rights, so you can't ever criticise it today. You can't say you don't need it today. And a lot of these women against feminism are specifically saying third wave feminism, modern feminism. They're not focusing on the pattern. They're not saying we didn't need feminism. They're saying we don't need feminism today. Feminism needs to change. It just seems that the more the Tumblr feminists gain a voice, the more the traditional feminists say you can't criticise this because of the history of feminism. I think feminism, the main problem with it today is it doesn't open itself up to any sort of criticism. It doesn't open itself up to any sort of idea that men could be affected by it negatively. It says that if you attack any aspect of it today, then you're rejecting all of it. You're rejecting the history of feminism. You're wanting to go back to a time before feminism. That you're against equality, which I don't think is the truth of the matter. I think people are just increasingly seeing the silly excesses of modern feminism and rejecting that. I don't think they're actually calling for an end to feminism, just a change in it. They're just saying modern feminism isn't working. It isn't representing who we are. It isn't representing modern women. It isn't representing men, and they want to see a change in that. And I don't see what the problem is. I think it's just a voice that needs to be heard now. And I think instead of condemning people, you should look at what they're actually saying and try to find some common ground. I think we should just try to change people's perception of what feminism is, because the most inflammatory and stupid and silly aspects of modern feminism are ruining it. And if feminism is still relevant today, if there is still a fight that needs to be fought, they need to change their perception of it. They need to be more vocal with these opinions. Stop telling us things like men need to be taught not to rape, and just bigoted things like this aren't doing any favours. They're just turning people against it, and I can see why. To attack the people that are pointing out the flaws in modern feminism is not going the right way about it. I think we should say, okay, with feminism, maybe it's losing its way a bit, maybe it needs to change, maybe it needs to better represent women today, rather than constantly focusing on the past. And if you go to the actual the site where it was originally posted, some of the comments are interesting. This one from John Perry. Even though the title of this article is speaking to women, you'll find that most of the respondents here will be men. Sad, really. I mean, why is that sad? Why are men not allowed to comment on an issue that affects them? I mean, it's a gender issue. I mean, last time I checked, I had a gender, so am I not allowed to comment on an article that discusses gender? I keep being told that feminism is about equality for both sexes, but then whenever a man tries to comment on it, he's disregarded and insulted. I mean, is that equality? I don't know. So I hope this rambling video has made sense. I'm not very succinct in what I try and say most of the time. I mess up my words, and I find it hard to get my point across a lot of the time. So this video will probably be heavily edited. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm open to any opinions. If you think I'm right, if you think I'm wrong. Yeah, I don't mind discussion.